Hi everyone, it's Sam. Welcome to part 4 of the Tamiya Aston Martin build. So today we're going to concentrate on the interior. We're going to get it all painted up. We've got some decals to put in there, some photo-etch, we've got some detail painting to do. We've got our leather colour to fully choose, and so on and so forth. Now, I often admit the interiors are not my forte. I found them rather boring to do. I always have. I don't know why. This one's a bit more interesting because I get to do a leather colour that I want to do for a while. So hopefully we can make it look pretty decent. And we shall see where we go with it. Now, this has been filmed over the past 2 weeks, on and off. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of sapped the mojo a little bit. This is what I was talking about in my last bench update. I did some work on the interior floor of the Aston. I actually thought we'll do some flocking, and I bought some embossing powder. There it is. Got some embossing powder to use, and due to a couple of mistakes by myself, it all went wrong. It took probably half a day of prep to get it, because I had to paint the leather colour, mask off, put the X22 down I used for the embossing powder, unmask it, and it just looked awful. So I had to strip it all and start again, and that just killed the mojo on the build. So this part should have been up over a week ago, and I've literally finished it about 5 minutes ago. So yes, bear with me, and we'll get through it. The interior is done now. I'll show you in a minute when we come back, and we're going to come back in part 5 and hopefully get this finished. We'll have a chat in a minute about what's left to do, but for now, let's get started on the interior. Okay, so here we have the interior. This is what we're going to get done today. We've got the door cards with the inserts to do. We've got all the dashboard to do. We're going to be doing the manual transmission, so we need to use this side of the instructions. Steering column, steering wheel. We've got numerous pieces of photo etch to attach to the pedals, etc. as well. We've got the tub for the actual interior as well. Instrument binnacle cowl to go over. Like I say, the tub, the rear partial shelf, the seats, various center console parts, and a lot of these need detail painting. Like I said, there's some photo etch, there's some decals for them as well. So we've got quite a lot to get through today and condense into a short video. So be mindful of which part you're using, because different parts are called out for different parts of the interior, and that's the step we should be at today, leaving all this to do in part 5. So we've got our colours that we chose for our interior. Now, this was supposed to be the colour I chose, but sadly it looks nothing like the bottle or the sample. This is a darker tan colour that I had. So I've mixed these 50-50, and we've got a colour in between. Now, that's more like the colour I want, but I'm going to darken it a touch more, with a little bit of that dark brown tan saddle colour, and get the colour we require. So I'm going to cut off all the parts, get them all cleaned up. You've seen me do this before, so there's no need to sit and watch. Get everything sanded and smoothed out, get them all mounted for spraying, and then we'll head to the spray booth. So here we go. We've got UMP grey primer, the apex of the .35 needle. We're at 30 psi, and we're going to get all the interior parts primed in grey. So a quick blow up with dust, and we'll start getting some light coats of grey primer down. Now we're spraying grey on grey, so you need to be careful you don't flood it or put too much down, and just take your time. Now, one thing we always talk about is surface prep. You can see right there in front of that left seat mount, just there is a fingerprint. Now that's what happens when you spray UMP primer or any water-based primer over fingerprints, because they leave behind an early deposit. And it's exactly what you get, and that's why I say prep is key on everything. We'll let that dry, and then we can overspray it, and we'll be all fine. But if you were to try to put heavier coats down, you will not get rid of that. You need to let it dry and put a second coat on, building it up, and as you'll see at the end, it will be totally done. Dashboard next. We've got lots of components to spray. We're not going to show them all, but we're just showing how well the grey primer goes down over these components and covers well, nice and simple. So why are we priming in grey? I like to prime in grey when spraying anything black, or in this case we're going to do that leather colour, because we can get good coverage
and see exactly where we're spraying. So as you can see, there's the tub all sprayed up. That fingerprint is gone. Just putting a final light mist over, and then these can be left to dry overnight, and we can come back and get some colour down. So it just goes to show you, let it dry, you'll have no issues at all, and it'll overpaint no problem whatsoever. There we go. Like I say, leave it overnight and we're all good. We've got some components that need to be sprayed in black. We're going to concentrate on the centre console for the dashboard right now. So we're obviously primed. The steering wheel needs painting as well, and the column. We're going to use Tamiya LP5 lacquer paint. Mine's decanted and thinned already in a dropper bottle, ready to go. And we're going to get down our base coat into the centre, and then we can mask it up and spray our leather colour at a later date. So the LP paints, I did a review video, test video yesterday. You can see that further back on the channel. Very good paints, highly recommended. I've been using this LP5 for months now, and it's by far the best semi-gloss black I've used. Haven't used the other colours, I'm well impressed, and they just lay down beautiful. So like I said, we've got the centre console, steering wheel column. There's a few other components that need spraying in black. So we're going with the semi-gloss colour, and first of all, just getting a nice light coat down. Once it's been dry for a few minutes, we can come back and get a second coat down as well. So like I say, with the lacquers, just build up your coat slowly, and then you can start putting them down heavier as you go. And there we go, there's all the centre console of the dashboard sprayed, and just give all the other components a quick mist over again to make sure they're all evenly covered. Leave these to dry for a good few hours, and then we can start masking off. As you can see, there's the semi-gloss black in the centre part of the dashboard. So we're going to mask that now so we can spray the leather colour either side. So we need to mask right down there in that recess on both sides, and then mask over the top and cover everything. We've got Aizu 2mm tape. Again, all the products I'm using you can find in a link in the description. And we're going to apply this down the sides and mask off that centre console for our leather paint in a little bit. So some careful masking. It's a bit tedious, just take a little bit of time. But again, preparation well worth making, because the finish will show through at the end when we get it all masked up and get our leather colour down. So just using the edge of the inside of that centre part as a guide, we're allowing the tape to flow down. We've got a Tamiya cotton bud, one of the pointed ones we're going to use to burnish the tape down, make sure it's all pressed down into all the recesses, all the little nooks and crannies. Got a Tamiya tweezers as well for the same reason. Making sure it's buttered right up against the side of that console, and then right down at the back so we get a nice tight paint seal. Using the cotton bud again, burnish it down, make sure it's fully pressed home. I do love the Aizu tape, it's just a thin version of Tamiya tape basically, and it works absolutely fantastic. Like I say, the more time you take now, the better this is going to look, so it's worth just taking a few minutes extra to make sure everything's pushed in the right place and is fully up where you want to mask to. Okay, as we can see, there's one side fully done. We'll do the same for the opposite side. And then a piece across the top. Again, make sure it's in the right place. There's a panel line to follow at the top. So that makes life a little bit easier. And just make sure it's pushed into any recesses and fully up to where we want to mask. There we go. So now we've covered the centre with more Aizu and some Tamiya tape. We're all good to go for paint. So this is the colour I ordered. As you can see, the bottle looks nothing like the picture on it at all. I've got the saddle tan colour. So I've mixed these about 60% of the tan colour, 33%, so whatever it is in beige. So yeah, third beige, 2/3 tan, and we've got this colour, which looks more like the colour I envisage and more like the colour on the bottle. So I'm not sure what's going on there at all. But for some reason the paint in the bottle looks nothing like the paint when it sprays. So as always with Zero Paints, nice thin coats building it up. Obviously we've masked off the centre, so we need to make sure that we spray up to the masking tape and get full coverage all around it. I'm just going to build it up slowly, probably 2-3 light coats should be enough to this. Making sure, again, as always, getting all the angles, recesses, everywhere you get, and obviously making sure you get underneath it as well, because if you leave anything grey, it will be glaringly obvious. We've got some photo etch for the pedals later. We need to paint them black as well. We've got to detail paint some of those vents. We've got buttons to detail and some decals to pop on the dashboard as well. So there we go, one light coat on, make sure we've got the edge. We've already got good coverage. That's a very nice colour. Seat next, again, taking your time, making sure you get all the backs, sides, underneath, any part that's visible. Just take your time. And again, multiple light coats, 2 or 3 light coats will ensure this is the same colour as everything else we're painting. And hopefully it'll look like a nice light tan leather interior. That is the plan. We've got washers to pop on this as well, so hopefully it'll bring out a bit more of the detail. And again, there's decals to go on the seats as well. Again, we're using the Apex, we're at about 15 psi. I'm using the 0.25 needle. So there we go, after multiple coats, we've got a nice tan interior colour. Very happy with that colour. Exactly what I envisaged for this car, and I think that's really going to look the part. So finishing off, we're going to let it dry, probably overnight again. That's my normal time frame for anything that needs masking. Overnight normally gives it a good 12 hours to dry, and we can come back, mask it up in preparation for painting our floor. So there we go, we've unmasked the console now. That looks absolutely brilliant. For the most part, we've got no bleed through at all. Everything else is painted up in the leather colour. So like I say, there's some parts to detail paint, some parts to give a wash to, and we'll get to those as we go. Now, we've started masking up the carpet area of the DBS interior. We're using 2.5mm Azu tape and following, there's lines around in there again, panel lines I suppose you could call them. We're using those as a guide and following it around. Like I said in the beginning, I did try and use embossing powder to flock it. It looked awful, so we're going for plan B, which is masking and spraying in the textured black paint. So there we go, we've masked off all around the outsides, and as you can see now we're in the paint booth, we've masked off all the back so that no excess paint gets where we don't want it. So we've got the textured black paint from Zero Paints. This works well on seats and gives a nice textured look and feel to everything you spray it on. Now what I like to do is get a coat down. We're at about 18 psi. We're going through the 0.2mm Apex this time. No particular reason, just as that this is my metallic brush. I didn't want to contaminate any of my other brushes, so I tend to use this brush for this. We're just getting an even coat all around. I'm not too bothered if it goes on thick, because I want that texture off this paint. So I tend to get a coat down, let that dry for a couple of minutes, and then I bring the airbrush back off a good 8 to 10 inches, and that allows the paint to hit and dry as it goes, and that adds more texture in my experience. Probably not the best way of doing it, but it's my way, and it seems to work really well. So again, paying attention to all the angles and all the recesses, making sure we get nice even coverage. Right up to the mask lines, and obviously panel lines and what have you. This will give a decent carpeted effect. I'm more than happy with it, I've done it before. As you can see, we're getting some of the paint down wet in places, which isn't ideal with Zero, but I'm not too bothered in this case if we get any reactions, because it'll just add to the texture I'm looking for. So there we go. We've got a nice coat down there. We can let that dry for a little bit. Chuck some more paint in the colour cup in preparation. We'll get another coat down, let that dry overnight, and then come back in the morning and unmask. So there we go, this is the next morning now. We're going to give all the recesses and gaps and panel lines a Tamiya panel line wash. This is the enamel based black panel line wash Tamiya makes. Quite hard to get hold of in the country, probably due to some labelling laws, but it does work well. It's enamel, it dries really quick, cleans up nice and easy, and yeah, it does work really well. So several areas on the car we're going to hit with this to bring out some of the detail. Once we let it dry for a couple of hours, we'll hit it with some odourless mineral spirits and remove the excess. And as I say, like on the dashboard, we've got the blower vents on the windscreen. We can get all the panel line around the edge, and then we can fill in the actual vents themselves with it to give the impression of the vent. It saves painting them, and I think it gives a better effect, to be honest. So careful application. The more careful you are, the less you've got to remove. So it does, again, take, it's worthwhile to take your time. Again, as you can see, it flows really well. The capillary reaction works well with the zero paints, and cleanup is pretty simple as well. So there we go. That's been drying now for 12 hours. As you can see, it's brought out some real nice detail on the dashboard. We're going to put a couple of drops of Sansador from Winsor Newton. That's odorless mineral spirits. We're going to give it a wipe over with a cotton bud or Q-tip. Only lightly going over, and then we'll flip the cotton bud to a drier side and wipe off the excess. Now, the best way I find to do this is remove the majority of it first, then flip around the cotton bud on a dry part. And any areas where you've got bigger sections of wash to remove, flip it round to the wet part, and then flip it back to the dry part again to dry. Once you're happy you've got majority of it gone, grab a bit of kitchen towel, give it a final gentle rub over. Don't be too rough because you can take paint off. You may find at a later date you need to come back for another application, either the wash or the mineral spirits. It just depends how well it's gone down. Finishing off the rear seat. There we go, as you can see. The texture paint's looking well inside as well. There's some decals to apply to the door cards. I think these are simulating speakers. I'm not 100% sure. They look like speaker vents, or grills rather. So I'm just seeing which way these are orientated. It's the other way. Trust me, it's the other way. There you go. So we go pop these in place. Careful application because they are Tamiya decals, although they're not too bad. So there's 2 per door card. Once they're in place, hit with a decal solution and leave them be to dry. We've got the instrument binnacle decal on the dashboard too. All the washers are taken off. More than happy how they look. They're looking the part. Steering wheel's done as well as a decal on it. All the decals are down on the seats, dashboard, etc, etc. Now we've got some photo etch to apply. We've got the foot control pedal covers. We've got the footrest as well. And there's those rear metal parts for the rear seats. Well, I say seats. The rear luggage area, I suppose it's properly called. We've applied some CA glue. I'm just going to drop it in place using our decal tweezers. I use decal tweezers because my normal Tamiya tweezers are magnetized and it will grip to the steel PE. So using a thick gel CA glue, we're just popping them in, making sure they're in place and leaving them be. Now we've got the accelerator pedal photo etch. Like I said, we need to detail paint the pedals in black. We'll do that once the photo etch is on. There's the accelerator pedal, there's the clutch, and there's our brake. So again, careful application of the CA glue and the photo etch. Nice, neat, no excess glue everywhere, and they really look the part. Found a bit of PE in the cockpit is the clutch footrest, which just fits on the left-hand side, and there we go. Some detail paint, so we've got silver from Vallejo Model Air. Again, there's links to these in the description. There's the gear knob painted, there's the gear knob surround. Any links to any paint products that I use are all in the description to this video, so if you're looking for anything, go over there. It'll take you to a big long list on the forum where everything is linked. So, various parts to detail paint on all the center console parts. Once done, we'll let them dry and we'll hit them with another wash to tie them all in together. Now, the dashboard's rather tricky to paint. We've got some dials and knobs to detail paint. Again, once you paint them, hit them with a wash to tie them all together. So just be as neat as possible. And then we've got heater vents around to do as well. These are rather tricky. So again, just take your time, and once you're complete, hit them with a wash and it'll hide a few of your mistakes. Again, worthwhile taking the time because it really does look good. It's a nice looking dashboard. Onto the more tricky center consoles. Just finish off that one. Takes a steady hand. Don't put a lot of paint on the brush either. The capillary action will make a lot more mess. There we go. There's all the dashboard complete now. Clean off our brush. All that is a bottle with some UMP airbrush cleaner in. Now we're putting our door card handles on, a couple of dabs of CA glue each side. Pops those in. These have been masked off and sprayed black and tan as well. Steering column in place. Bit of CA glue again. Pop that in. Steering wheel in place as well. Make sure you get it straight if you want it straight. Make sure it's sitting right and where you want it. And there we go. There's the dashboard complete. It looks really good. Very happy with that. So, driver's seat in. Just going to pop the passenger seat in now using my Perfect pen from Loctite. Nice, accurate CA applicator, and it's a gel type CA. So it's nice. It does hold parts really well. And once it dries, it takes a little bit longer to dry. It does hold those parts in really nice. When putting parts in, ensure you've got no CA glue on your fingers. I put a nice dab on one of the seats, so I'm going to have to sand that back a touch and respray it at a later date. But for now, we're just getting all this in and assembled as we want. There's the partial shelf on, the door cards are already on. There's the dashboard in place. Just giving it a sec or two to dry, and there we go. Make sure it's fully home. Then we've got our gear lever surround. That pops in nice and easy, and then the gear stick itself. As you can see, just give everything just a couple of seconds to dry before we touch anything else. Ensure your fingers are clean, there's no CA glue on them, trust me. You will get fingerprints if you're not careful. There's the gear selector in and pushed home. And all we've got now is the center console armrest. So, touch more CA. Really do like this pen. Again, there's a link to it in the description. I find it a nice CA glue to use, and it's great in this applicator too. And it's not too expensive. If you look around, you should get them for £3.50. And it does last quite some time. And there we go. So there we go. There's all our interior finished. Very happy how that looks. There's a few areas to touch up, but nothing major. And I think it looks good. I'm glad I chose that colour. I think the contrast in black and tan looks good together, with the chrome accent in there as well. So very happy with that. Looks great. 4 dabs of CA glue on the chassis. Pop our interior in place. Push down a little lightly, and there we go. Job done. Very happy how that looks. It's coming together really well. And now I cannot wait to get that body on and get this thing finished and see what it looks like.
Right, okay, there we go. So, yes, it's turned out okay. It's not perfect, but I'm happy with that. That looks alright. It's a nice leather colour. It's the colour I envisaged, and that should look nice with the blue. So, sorry for about the Mojo knocking thing. I mentioned it in the last bench update. It has just literally knocked all the enjoyment out of the build for just a little bit. Because of the thought of having to redo something you've already done is a little bit draining. But we're done now. I'm fairly happy with this. I've got a few areas I want to touch up. There's a piece on the seat I want to touch up, or a little bit of CA glue touched it. There's a few bits of silver I want to repaint, but I can do those as we go. It's not a problem at all. So hopefully we can get back to this and get the last part up maybe next week. We are Friday today, so hopefully I can work out next week and we'll get it all done and dusted. So what's left to do? Right, we've got to sand and polish the body. We've got a few flaws in the body I want to get rid of. I kind of don't want to touch it, but I kind of want to get rid of the flaws. So I'm really on the fence what to do. I'm not sure though. We're going to play that one by ear, but I've still got to sort the body. Either way, it needs polishing or whatever. We've got the engine bay to mask off and paint, because that's all a different colour. We've got some decals in the engine bay. I'll need a wash and a bit of detail painting. We've got lots of photo-etch grills to put in there as well. We've got all the lights to do. We've got the glassware to do, some badges to stick on, and a few other bits and bobs to do as well. So there's quite a bit to do. I'm hoping to get it all in the next episode. I'm trying to keep these down to around 30 minutes max. Whether it works on that, I don't know. But I'm trying to keep them a bit more shorter to keep people's interests. But I'm really looking forward to what this body looks like, because to me that's the best bit. I love doing the body work, the wheels and all that, because they're all the focal points you see. They are my favourite bits. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what it looks like to come together. We've still got a bit of work to do. but we're definitely on the home straight now as well. It's a lovely kit. It really is a beautiful kit. It's just that interior last week absolutely just drained all the fun out of it. Like I said in the last bench update, I put the Subaru in the box, blah, blah, blah. I've worked on a GT40, which I'm loving, and I'm really eager to get back to it. So much so, I was having a bit of a mini sulk this morning because I had to work on this and I couldn't work on the GT40. So it shows you that I'm enjoying it, which is good. But anyway, enough moaning. We'll be back for part 5 in hopefully about a week. And we'll get this thing finished and hopefully it's going to look good. I'm very happy with the colour. I'm happy with the interior. And let's just get the finishing touches done and get this build done. Going to have a little bit of a break from video builds. I've got a few other videos I want to get out there of techniques and what have you. And then we'll pick our next build, which I think is going to be the AMG Mercedes. We'll see. And come back and get it done. So there we go. Hope you found it useful. As always, any comments or questions, pop them down below. All the products you see me using today are in the link in the description. There's a link that takes you to the forum. And there's a massive 90+ long item list on there of all the products I use in all my videos. Go over there and have a look. It's literally everything. Nearly everything you can see. So yeah, go and have a look at that. As always, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com. You can get a lot of the products from. My Paul ISM Facebook page, where my modelling work shared. I'll have the bench page and Off Air Hangout group for the live shows and the Off Air Hangouts as well. And go back and watch the previous parts of this build as well if you want to catch up. And there's a few other builds on as well. We've got Subaru, BMW, the Skyline, and a Lamborghini. Don't watch the Lamborghini one, rubbish. But yeah, and we'll see you next week, hopefully for part 5 I can get this finished. Thanks for watching, catch you all next time, take care, bye bye.